Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. Today we are doing a book review for Unseelie by Ivelisse Housman. Maybe I said her name right. This is a new release for January. It is a fairy story, kind of, but it does things quite differently. What she did with her main character is a bit special, and I will talk about that a little later, but I think we're going to try to do spoiler free. We will just have to, see how the vibe takes us, what we want to do with this, but I'm going to try to make this spoiler free. That way, if you do think it sounds interesting, you can pick it up and see if it's right for you. Unseelie is the story of Unseelie Graysgrove and her twin sister Isolde. Seelie is an autistic changeling, so she's always known she's been different and doesn't quite fit in with the people around her. She doesn't see things the same way, doesn't feel things the same way they do. And she has this very unpredictable magic that, being a changeling, I suppose, left by fairy, she would have. And it makes life even more difficult for her and her twin. But Isolde never leaves Seelie's side. She is always supportive of Seelie, especially when a very unfortunate accident happens and Seelie's like gonna run away to save her parents and stuff like that, and Isolde doesn't let her. They both leave, and 3 years later, they've been living on their own. Isolde has turned to pickpocketing to, help support them. And now they're trying to pull off this very big heist, but things go sideways. Things go very sideways. And they end up having to make unlikely allies with another group of thieves that were trying to steal something from the same place they were. So as they are on this magic quest, they start uncovering things. Like, you get a little bit of history of this war that happened between the humans and the Fae, and Seelie herself uncovers this very big thing that involves Fae and involves humans and the interactions between both of them. And the story just takes a completely different turn, kind of than what you thought it was, based off the description of the book. It says heist and kind of quest, and finding out these deep dark secrets of the world. Well, not the world, but this secret that connects Fae and human, like that. So it takes a different turn than that. I think it is a lot. It's not a traveling story. What is a traveling story? I don't know. They are on the road for a bit, and they encounter a lot of struggles as they are on their quest from their starting point to the treasure that they were kind of seeking. It ends up being a different kind of treasure in a different place, kind of, than what they were thinking. And so a lot of book takes place between these 2 points. So a little travel-y bit, kind of, but not a whole lot of detail provided there about that. Our main characters in this book are, of course, Seelie, because the whole book is through Seelie's eyes, and her being an autistic character, it is just a whole different outlook. And I feel like I didn't know this till I got to the author's letter at the end, but it is very authentic feeling, like what she has the character see and experience, and the range of emotions, and just how hard it is sometimes for Seelie to kind of grasp what her sister is feeling. Like, Seelie sees it through her own eyes, and she doesn't understand why Isolde does not feel the same, doesn't understand it. And of course, she can't quite handle some of the things that happen. Like, it's too much for Seelie. And the fact that okay, not spoilers, but that she does try to take on some of the responsibilities still for herself, and she's afraid to let other people know about certain aspects that are happening through the book because of the way she thinks they will see her. And it's very beautifully done, the way the author wrote Seelie's character and her emotions and what she saw, how she looked at the world. I think she did a very, very good job writing Seelie. Then we have her sister Isolde, who is brave and a protector, and she takes care of her. But okay, the characters, see, there's 14. I think they're only 16. They might be 17. So of course they're sisters and they're 17-year-old, so there is going to be fighting. And even though Isolde has grown up with Unseelie and knows how Unseelie is, and that she does, you know, have this issue where emotions will run differently, her feelings are different, and like she can't look at the world the same, and she can't handle things the same as Isolde. But being 17-year-old sisters, of course there will be the big fight, that even though Isolde has taken care of Unseelie and has, you know, knows all of Unseelie's challenges, where she of course will say the awful words of like, why can't you just, you know, grow up? Why can't, you know, we are growing up. I don't want the same thing I did when I was little. Okay, so that is a spoiler, but come on, teenage girl sister fights, there's gonna be the bad moment, right? There has to be. And that leads to things, and that leads to things. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, Isolde is Unseelie's defender and protector, and, you know, she loves her unconditionally. But of course, you know, sisters are gonna fight. So, Isolde, though, is the adventurer, the brave one, the fighter, the protector, as I said. And when they do meet our other main characters, their unlikely allies, she, of course, you know, bonds immediately with, I keep saying her name wrong. Elise? No. Sorry, had to look it up because I couldn't remember how to say her name. So once they meet Alani and Reyes, and Alani is this adventurer that is like, not adventurer, kind of, she was a kind of like hired muscle, but did adventure-y things. I don't know how to describe what Alani was exactly in her profession before starting on this quest with Reyes, because Alani and Reyes were at the same place that the twins were to steal something specific, whereas the twins just kind of broke in to steal something expensive. And after, you know, a scuffle with the twins, it results in them having to work together to be able to get this. So they're traveling together, and Isolde and Alani have a lot in common. They both love adventure and questy things like this. And Unseelie, of course, does feel a little left out that, you know, Isolde is forming this bond and she thinks her sister's changing. Whereas Unseelie is having a lot of problems connecting with these people. Alani, though, is an enchanter, which we will get into later, and she can heal people. We'll get into the magic later, like I said. And our other character that is part of this duo that they have to become allies with the twins to accomplish this questy goal is Reyes, and he is actually the reason that him and Alani were breaking into the same place as the twins, and they had a very specific item in mind that they wanted to get. And Reyes is also, do they still call them enchanters? I don't know. He is able to change shape, though. But he's a bit limited in his changing abilities. I don't think I should say that. So we should move on, though. But Reyes and Unseelie, they have this bantering relationship that, you know, they definitely get off on the wrong foot. And while Unseelie likes Alani, she also does not like exactly that Isolde and Alani get along so well, because they both have this adventurous spirit, and they swap, you know, stories of things that they have done, adventures they have gone on, and yeah, she just feels like her sister is separating from her because they're traveling with these people. And it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. In this book, in the world of this book, you can definitely see fairies and magic. As I said, Alani and Reyes are both enchanters. Alani is a healer. Her family is healers, but she did not just want to sit around at an apothecary and just heal people like that, possibly because her healing skill is not quite as good as her brother's, she says, but also she says the lessons were just kind of boring, and she wanted to go on adventures. So that is what she did. And Reyes is I already said like a shifter. There is a very famous family in this book that has those shifty abilities. And then there are also enchanters called summoners, I think, which can do more magic, general magic-y abilities. And there are fairies. Fairies and humans, though, are separated, like the lands of fairy are separated from the human world. Though fairies can cross over, but it's only kind of at certain points, and it does require skill and strength to be able to cross over. So yes, most fairies are not part of the human world. Fairy magic does seem to be very tricksy, though. And Unseelie, being a changeling child, does possess fairy magic, and hers is quite uncontrollable. She is afraid of her magic. She does not like to use it. But on this quest, they see that Unseelie kind of needs to learn to control it. So Alani and Raze both try to take turns teaching Unseelie how to control her magic. And that's an ordeal. And that's a story in itself. So we're gonna move on from that part. A thing that I wish could have been delved into more of the book is the story of the world. As you know, they were traveling along their quest to reach this treasure trove. Raze brings up when they're at this town about the history of the town, and he seems kind of surprised that the others have never heard of it, because apparently it did have something to do with the big fairy war that took place hundreds of years ago. But the war that happened between fairies and mortals was slightly touched on. It does seem to have had some big significant impact there. And I wish we could have delved in more, but that is just, me personally loving the world building aspect of any book. So I would love to see that delved into more. Maybe something that's going to come into play. I feel like we're going to have to find out something more in the next book for sure because of something else. Okay, so the book rating then. This book personally is not like one that I love, but I am totally in the minority. Everybody seems to be loving this book, giving it super high marks. So my 3.5 stars is definitely just my own personal opinion because of things that I wish she could have done more of. I think this writer will do wonderful things in the future for sure. She's going to do great things. She wrote this character beautifully, and I love that it was only from Unseelie's perspective. So that way, you were really with Unseelie. You weren't seeing things from the other sides, because I think that would have worked against what she wanted to do. I liked that for YA, there was no romance. Maybe hints at it, but I would personally be okay if that never came to fruition. Mostly because I don't think that should happen. They work much better as friends. Yes. So I love that didn't happen. And then the reveal at the end, the secrets that, would affect both worlds. I think that worked pretty good. I get what she's trying to do and the things she wants to, make it the twist on, real world and whatever too. I don't know. I'm just not in particularly sure how I feel about that. I do understand it, where she's going and where she did that. And the other twist that happened at the end, I like that better more than the secret-y thing that found out. Okay. What I didn't like though was the pacing of the book. It just felt like nothing happened for a lot of it. It was slow. I don't know. That was me. Other people thought it did. I don't know. But I was able to zone out and still not miss things. I felt like so. There's that. Other people though said they did not say that. They said that the pacing was great in the book, that there was lots of action, lots of stuff keeping you happening. I'm like, okay. In the end though, I don't like where the book cut off. I get we're leaving, we want to leave storylines open for the next thing, but there was a weird skip there at the end, and then the final chapter. So those are the things that I was a bit odd. Do I think a lot of people are right to love this book? Yes, totally. She's doing something awesome with what she's doing here. Reading the author's note at the end, yes. because what she is doing is, her goal was to write a book about autism without saying about, you know, using the word autism, really. I mean, it says it in the Amazon description, but nowhere in the book. Nowhere. So it's not being described to you, it is being like shown from that person's point of view. And as an autistic person herself, she particularly, you know, knows what that point of view is. Of course, the spectrum is huge, so everybody's experience is not the same, but the way she's able to show it, it does convey what a lot of people would be going through. So it's very beautifully done, and she did, because she said that growing up, there was no stories like that for her. There was no stories from the autistic person's point of view. There was only people talking about their child or their student or whatever. It was never from her point of view, and she wanted to write that, and I think she did a beautiful job. Even if the story wasn't for me, that there was things, it was just other parts of the book that didn't work for me. But will I try her again? Will I probably finish this series? Yeah. I think I accomplished my goal of not really saying spoilers. Always let me know in the comments down below, though, if you think I strayed too much, or if you've tried this book and what your thoughts on it were. Liked it, thought there was a little bit of issues like I did. It's up to you, really. I hope, though, that you are encouraged to maybe try this book or recommend it to somebody else if you didn't think you'd enjoy it. Or, you know, if you skipped past the part where I said there's no romance, this is a YA book with no romance. So it is okay if that is not your jam and that's why you don't want to pick it up. There's not there. Thank you guys so much for being here. I have a new video saying what's coming out this week that you can go check out, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.